With the Lexus IS 500 and its NA V8 gone, some of us have been left feeling lost, especially if you're still morally opposed to turbos, hybrids, or EVs. It's a tough life here in the Lexus cult, and if you're still holding out until the bitter end, this might be your only option, the updated 2026 IS 350 F Sport. Let's go over all of the changes and find out if it was worth the squeeze. This IS 350 has such a good turning radius. That's the first thing to love about it. So that cult following that I was talking about, the people who still love these naturally aspirated engines, here of course, it's the 3.5 liter NA V6 that's been in the IS for a long time. It's become such a novelty, but only because all of the other competitors have gone turbo, 4-cylinder, hybrid, or all of the above. It's just, this is the last remaining. So by default, it becomes a novelty. It becomes special. Sport Plus mode. Let's see how quickly we can get up to speed. There we go. All right. It's pretty quick, but you do have to wait until you're past about 4,500 RPM to really get there. It's got 311 horsepower and 280 pound-feet, so it's not slow, but that 280 pound-feet is way up between 4,000 and 4,500 RPM. So let's say second gear, we're at 3,000 RPM. You don't have to wait a second, but it's part of the charm. You really have to want the feeling of this power band versus some of the 2-liter inline-4 turbos. They all drive a bit like diesels, for better or worse. And I don't know about you guys, but I've kind of become sick of that power band, the crazy ramp up of torque, and then they all tend to kind of die off at the top end. There we go. There's no VTEC style crossover. It's not a big changeover in power, but it's just a smooth roll on of power all the way to 6,800 RPM. Not only have they killed off the IS 500, like I said, they also killed off the entry point to the IS, which was the IS 300, which had a detuned version of this same NA V6. So evidently, Lexus has realized that 310 horsepower in the top spec non-V8 model was never really all that much to begin with, so they cut out the bottom end, they cut out the top end, and that tells me that this car is not going to be around for very much longer, at least in its naturally aspirated form, right? Here in Canada, the IS 350 default is all-wheel drive. In the States, you guys are able to spec a rear-wheel drive version of this, which is awesome, and that has an 8-speed automatic, whereas this, the all-wheel drive, has a 6-speed automatic. The auto's pretty good. If you leave it in auto mode, especially here in Sport Plus, it does hold gears when you're braking. Downshifts are fairly good. They're at downshifted to 4,000 RPM. It's pretty good. And because it is a 6-speed, it works really well with this NA engine because it's not constantly shifting. You can kind of enjoy the revs building. It's the downshifts when you use the paddles that just aren't as quick as you would expect. All right, we'll get back to the video in a second, but real quick, you guys, if this is hitting home or hitting some nerve of some kind, that's a good sign. You guys remember Need for Speed Underground 2. We have new merch, and if you're watching this right now, that's Rachel's 350Z, by the way. If you're watching this right now, everything is live, roadsuntraveled.com. And if you guys remember Special Stage Route 5 we came out with last year, we've got more Gran Turismo tracks. So here's Midfield Raceway. This one's my favorite. All this ink, by the way, is direct to garment, so it's basically soaked into the material instead of just like a screen printed thing on top. Really high quality. There's a bunch of Gran Turismo tracks as well. I'm super happy with these designs. Let me know what you guys think. Check it out, and now back to the video. And if you guys haven't figured it out yet, there is a ton of fake audio and augmented sound coming into the cabin, including exhaust crackles. So when I get off the throttle, popcorn. It's a fake crackle tune. You can choose your setting and kind of set how intense you want this sound to be coming through. And there's not a huge change. It is kind of funny though. But the best part is just, it's got such a short wheelbase, especially compared to the competition. It's everything you need without anything you don't need. That's not true, I spoke too soon. There are a few things that you absolutely don't need. The IS has so many good things going for it. The steering rack is super tight, really quick, and it's a light car, 3,900 pounds even here with all-wheel drive. You can save about 120 pounds if you spec in the US the rear-wheel drive model. But the whole car just feels tight, nimble. That all-wheel drive system has a default to send 70% of the torque to the rear and 30% to the front, and it will send up to 50% to the front. It feels rear biased, 235 tires in the front, 265s out back. It's got enough grip, it's got a ton of grip. It still has a little bit of body roll, and of course the F-Sport gets adaptive suspension, along with all of the other kind of inputs you can adjust for your own custom setting. But regardless of your suspension setting, it defaults to a very comfortable kind of luxury experience. But with that being said, the body roll is not insane. It's still very well controlled. And when you push it, it does not begin to fall apart. Now, this update has fixed a number of things. For me, the exterior was one of them, specifically the front bumper. I've never really been a fan of that big hourglass grille. The pre-update cars looked great. Definitely looked awesome. I can't really say that this new front bumper looks better, but it still looks great. This is absolutely the best looking sports sedan on the market. And with F-Sport, of course, that gets you the gloss black wing. Questionable. It also gets you these 19-inch gloss black BBS wheels that look great, red painted calipers. The whole car, you can look at it from any angle. There are so many good lines to look at. Is it a huge update as far as exterior styling goes? No, but if this means we can hold on to the IS and its NAV6 for a few more years, I'm all for it. It does, because it is a smaller sedan, not have quite as much cargo space as you would expect, and some of the competition have bigger trunks, although there is enough. Second row is decent. I'm 5'9", I fit back there fine. Headroom is fine, but it is shorter when it comes to knee room. And probably the biggest fixes with this update come on the interior. Lexus has finally killed the trackpad. So we've got this new 12.3-inch touchscreen. Not only that, but it's a little bit lower down, so it looks less of just an iPad tacked on the dash and more of kind of an integrated widescreen, which is good. And then we have a digital display. This is effectively, operationally speaking, identical to the previous gauge cluster. It doesn't really do anything different, aside from leg. Very strange. That is, I mean, it is insane that they've taken a step back just by going to a digital gauge cluster. That is crazy to me. It makes it almost impossible to judge where I need to downshift, where I need to upshift. And in turn, I end up hitting redline when I shouldn't be hitting redline. They have added the option of putting your map in the center display here, but your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto map does not display in the center screen, just the built-in navigation, which, by the way, is on a subscription once your free trial disintegrates into thin air. The new center screen, really easy to use, obviously. So much better than that trackpad. All the materials in here too are solid. Nothing is shouty, nothing's complicated. It's all very simple. It's just an easy car to live with, an easy car to drive. They have added ambient lighting. They've changed the design of the dashboard. And of course, because there's no trackpad, the center console here is driver inattention detected. Please look forward. Oh yeah, it's monitoring you at all times. That's a little bit of a side note with the tech package. Because the trackpad is gone, this whole center console has been simplified for the better. They have added wireless charging. They've also added wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all very easy to use. They've also upgraded the 360 cam and the backup camera. That was kind of a smaller bullet point for this update, but definitely noticeable. The steering wheel has been updated to the newer style Lexus steering wheel, all physical controls, and the steering wheel itself is just, it's perfect. It's very similar to what you would find in a TLX Type S. Just so good to grip, and even though there is no option for leather seats here, everything you touch is great, especially when it comes to physical climate control. Yes, thank you, Lexus. Like I said, you guys, it's just everything you need and not much of what you don't need, and that's where the IS350 really shines. So the F Sport gets these bucket seats, where the base model does not. Definitely well worth it, especially if you begin to push this as hard as you can. They hold you in so well. Unfortunately, they do not have four-way adjustable lumbar. A TLX Type S, for an example, would have that. A Mercedes C300 would also have that, but they are heated, they are cooled. There is one thing strange going on though with the throttle calibration, okay? And I was not expecting this. I do not remember this being the case in the IS300 I drove a couple of years ago pre-update, but there's a delay. There's a strange delay in throttle when you come off throttle, and I'm coasting here. I'm in Sport Plus, mind you, keep that in mind, and then I get back on the throttle. There's a weird delay. There's a noticeable, almost 1 second delay, which is huge. Now, when you are on throttle just a little bit, and then you hit it, it's great. That's exactly how I would expect an NA engine to respond. But as soon as you begin coasting, let off completely, then you get back on it. In any drive mode, there's a very strange and big delay, and that, I have a feeling, is because the torque converter is just unlocking when you're coasting to save fuel. That's great and all, but this is a sports sedan, and when I begin pushing the car, and it feels great when I do that, it just doesn't feel like it wants to go that extra step. It kind of takes you out of it. Such a letdown. I don't remember feeling that, but it is by far the worst part about the driving experience. Everything else about the IS as far as driving it goes is awesome. So because the IS300 is gone, the IS350 starts here in Canada at $56,000 as tested, $70,000 Canadian or $60,000 USD. So not cheap, but also not expensive. To everyone who says the IS350 is quote unquote underpowered, if you spend that same 70,000 Canadian in, let's say, a Mercedes C300, you get way less power. And sure, the torque, and yeah, the torque comes on a lot lower, and the shifts around town are a little bit smoother than you would get here. The strengths of the IS350 are in its simplicity. It's a naturally aspirated V6 engine that should be, by all accounts, incredibly reliable to deal with. It's still very much a Lexus at the end of the day, and just know that going into it. Sharp steering, yes. Good rear bias handling, yes. But when you approach the limits, is it quite as precise as a BMW 3 Series or a Genesis G70, even with a 3.3 liter twin turbo V6, sorry? No, but it is still one of the best sports sedans on the market, and thank you, Lexus, for keeping this NA V6 around for just even a couple more years. So if you guys haven't already, subscribe. We'll see you next time.